Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I am back with another video. Today's video is featuring some products from Pretty Pink Posh's new June 2026 release, and we are going to be making these fun, kind of more realistic cocktails with either a salt or I guess a sugar rim, depending upon what you're into. This video is actually part of their video hop. So as you are hopping along, please make sure that you are leaving a little bit of love. That is also going to get you entered. Pretty Pink Posh is very generously giving away a $20 gift card along each stop on the hop. That's hard to say. So make sure you leave your comment, and that is open through, I believe, June 20th. So all of that will be linked below. Here, I had a different vision originally. I knew that I wanted to do the drinks. I knew how I wanted to do the drinks with the little salt and sugar rim kind of idea. So here I'm die cutting out all of my other pieces parts. This is the tropical leaves. I also did the hibiscus, but I didn't end up using it. And then here, this is like my collection of alcohol inks. So I've gone in and I picked out originally, I wanted to do a margarita. Yeah, I have alcohol blending solution. If you don't have that, you can use regular isopropyl alcohol. And then I also have a little hand blower. And so I'm going to put down the alcohol blending solution. This is a piece of 5x7 Yupo that I've cut in half. And I am using a combination of alcohol inks and alcohol pearls. So with the alcohol inks, I find that I like to put down the blending solution. I do a drop or two of color. And then the same thing with the pearls, but here's this thing with the pearls, it doesn't move a lot. There's not a lot of movement. So typically after I put the pearl down, like see how it doesn't really, it's like very circular. I do need to make sure that I have enough of that alcohol blending solution down, and then I have to go in with the little puffer to get it moving. So the green, I knew that I wanted to do a margarita. That's kind of the glass there, and typically that's a salt rim. I'm not really a drinker, but I'm pretty sure it's a salt rim. And then for the other one, I thought that it would be fun to kind of do a little bit more of like a pink, orange, yellow kind of vibe. That way I could use the cute little garnishes. So with this one, I'm doing the yellow right next to the green for that to kind of mix for the margarita color. And then I'm working my way down. Now I did also use the yellow alcohol pearl there to get some shimmer into this one here. And then I'm just going to kind of blow it around until I'm happy with it. If your ink is not moving, you probably need more blending solution. If your ink is not, is either too light, then you probably have too much blending solution. You can add more pigment, or if it's too dark, you may need to add more blending solution to lighten it up. I like to have some areas where it kind of fades into white, so that's why I'm leaving that bottom right-hand corner open. And then I'm just going to play around with this. One of the things that does happen sometimes is if you have too much blending solution, it can stay wet for a little bit longer, or even after it dries, it can stay sticky. I have a fun technique for if it stays sticky. It's actually Pretty Pink Posh products as well. This was a long time ago, but I'll link it at the end if you have sticky alcohol ink that you need to take care of. So here this is all just regular Nina 80-pound solar white cardstock. I am going to end up coloring these, though you could absolutely do ink blending, or you could cut them out of colored cardstock. Here you could see that one edge was kind of hanging over the side. And so I needed to run it back through to make sure everything got cut out. For this, now that it is dry, there are parts of it that still are sticky. And Yupo paper, because it's made from plastic, if you try to heat it, it can kind of crumple up on itself. So what I do is I just put down like a trash piece of paper, like just a scrap piece right over top. So that way I don't transfer the color to my cutting plate, and it kind of protects that. You can get the ink, though. Alcohol inks will dye anything, y'all. anything. So you can get the ink on there if it is like still sticky. So in order to clean that up, I just put down a little bit of alcohol on my dies. I rub them with a piece of paper towel, and then they came up clean, and it was totally fine. So now onto the coloring. Here, you don't see much of the base here. You just see kind of like the bottom and the tippy top. The rest of it is filled in with that drink dye. So I'm really just adding a little bit of shading kind of around the edges so that it looks like a little bit of a frosty glass. Another way that you could do this that I think would be really, really fun would be to cut the base out of vellum. And then you would have kind of that frosty look, and you would have your drink sitting on top. But this works as well with these lighter blues. And since I already knew that I was going to have a lot of like a lighter tealish blue color in my card, this worked really well to kind of bring everything together, because I do have some kind of bolder summer colors going on. So this lighter blue is just like a nice little palette cleanser. For the umbrellas in my drinks, I'm doing the same thing with the blues. I'm just switching out the lightest blue for a blue green, and this is going to help to tie into my cardstock color, which is Dewdrops from Altenew. And so I really like this color, and it doesn't compete with all these bold colors. It just is a really nice way to kind of set everything off, because we've got some really bold, bright greens and really bold, bright like pinks and oranges. So that was what I was trying to give it, like the eye, like a little place to rest. These are the skewers and the umbrella, what are those? Like the little umbrella stand things. So that's what I'm doing there. This is a straw. You could technically put a straw in both of them, but I only put a straw in the taller one. I was trying to play a little bit with like the balance of the card. For my little garnish, they actually have a slice of lemon, lime, orange, whatever, citrus, a slice of citrus, and then there's a pineapple, a strawberry, and an olive. So if like you wanted to do like a little martini, adorable. There's also a whole nother drink container, which is like a coconut that I didn't even use today. But so I wanted to do the little garnish, and then the other yellow thing that I'm coloring here is actually the center of the hibiscus. I love those. I fully intend to use them on another day. It just was too much for this card. So I'm coloring the top of the strawberry, the palms, and these extra little leaves that I cut. All of this darker green color. The leaves from the hibiscus I cut, and then I colored them a lighter yellow green. What else did I do? Oh, because I had the lime, and I ended up changing it because I don't know anything about really alcohol beverages. Because I was not, even when I was younger, like when I was all just no responsibility whatsoever, and I could do whatever I wanted and go wherever I wanted. I wasn't even a drinker then. I just don't. It's just not for me. No judgment. Like I just don't like the way it tastes or the way it makes my tummy feel. So and I was like, if you guys know my past history, I was a police fire EMS dispatcher for years, and by the time I was 20, I was already working at the police station. So like I've always just, my mom used to tell me all the time, like you're just an old soul, Kelly. Like that's just who you are. So I was never much of a drinker partier. Again, not that there's anything wrong with getting a beverage responsibly. So I know the margaritas have the salt on the rim. But other than that, that's pretty much all I know. I tried to like Google it because you guys do know I like to be informed. And I really couldn't find, somebody said that their significant other really enjoyed a lemon drop with a salted rim. And so when I switched it to a lemon because the internet said that was okay. I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's your card. I just think it's a really fun way. I like using the alcohol inks for beverages because they do look so fluid. And then I also really like that added detail of the kind of salted or sugared, top of the glass because it offers texture. And that's something I think that we really don't talk about enough in card making, is how different textures can change how interesting your card is. And this is such an easy thing to add. So here, this is where I was going to color the hibiscus. You'll see it kind of come together as I'm coloring the strawberry, but I'm not going to show you the whole process because it didn't even end up on the card. So originally I wanted my red to be more of like on the pinkier side. So I started with an RB69 instead of an R59 like I normally would. And truthfully, you can't even tell the difference. Now with the hibiscus, I did add more pink to it. I went back over it with an RB04, I think. But with the strawberry, I didn't. I just kept it nice and red. So I'm going to put this on its little skewer, its little garnish skewer, and then I'll put my little pineapple at the top. It's like a little tequila sunrise, maybe. There was I would get them. This is how much of a not drinker I am. I am. I would go to this craft retreat and they were at Drury's, a Drury Inn. And I don't know if you know anything about Drury's, but when you stay at a Drury, you get a free dinner and 2 free drink tickets. At least that's the way it was back then. This was like over 10 years ago. And anyway, so everybody would be like, oh, they're little drink tickets. Like, I'm going to go get my free drink, during happy hour or whatever. So I would go and I would order a tequila sunrise, sans tequila, add the grenadine. So I would have them double down on the grenadine in my mocktail, my little no tequila sunrise, and it was delicious. I loved it. It was probably giving me the diabetes, but it was fine. It was still very yummy. So here, this is like a more traditional margarita because it is like the greenish yellow with the lime and the salted rim. Was my intention, like the way that it's all coming together here. But when I got the card together, like sometimes we have to pivot, because it does not look the way that we want it to. So this one I think is really fun because you can do kind of like the different levels of where your drink is at, or you can do 3 different colors. There's also ice cubes in this set that you could throw in there. And so here I'm just building it up. I'm just going to do all 3 layers so that it goes to the top. So we have that kind of like pink and then that corally kind of orangish red and then the yellow at the top. For my sentiment, I am using the banners. And so I am lining it up onto my cardstock, but then I'm double checking that I have enough room to fully die cut it out with my banner. So that's what you see me doing there. Treating with my anti-static tool. I'm going to stamp this in some brilliant white pigment ink, and then I like to stamp them twice just to make sure I get a good impression. And then I will sprinkle on some white detail embossing powder. I think the detail embossing powder or fine embossing powder is super important for sentiments to make sure that they're like super clean and legible. So I heat set that until it was smooth, and then I'm going to die cut the large summer, the shadow out of the same kind of bluish color, then the actual script word out of white, and then also do the little banner out of this here. So here is how the card was. And I was like, it's too much green. I have to create a balance. So here's where I created my little, I guess we're going to go with a strawberry lemon kind of margarita vibe. And then I recolored my lime to be a lemon. And so now my design is much more balanced, because I have those kind of warmer colors popping off of my cooler colors, which is really doing a lot for our focal point. So here's how we're going to add the little salt and sugar rim. So I'm going to use some glossy accents. I'm going to put that right on the edge, and then I'm going to do it for both. Glossy accent stays wet for a while, so you don't have to work that quickly. I am burping the bottle there. That's how to keep the nib clean on your glossy accents, is by making sure that it is clear and you can feel air coming out of the top before you cap it. And then I'm just going to sprinkle on some rock candy glitter, and this is like a white glitter. So I'm going to sprinkle that on both of them. And then in order to make it so that it's like a little bit more peg. Once I do the rock candy glitter, then I am going to add a little bit, just like dots here and there of glue. And what I'm going to do to make it so like parts of it are like actually white, like you would see with salt, well, and sugar, honestly, you really can't tell them apart, is I'm going to sprinkle on some embossing powder. This is just like older, kind of cheap, clear embossing powder. I'm just going to sprinkle that on there. And so that, and I'm not going to melt it. And then that way it's going to make parts of it white so that it looks like, you know, the actual salt. And then I'll just let this dry and it'll stick there with the glue. I am going to add a little bit of more glitter later. But that's just because I think there's never enough glitter. You know what I'm saying? Never, never, never enough. So I'm just cleaning up that little edge, and then I did start putting everything together. I am not going to show you the whole thing because I am trying to spare you. Because the whole, like, everything just kept moving. This is one of my struggles with die cuts, and this is why, like, doing the hinge method with like the press and seal is so helpful. But that would mean that I would have to get everything laid out where I want it in order to pick it up with the press and seal, and I couldn't even get it to do that. I could not even get it to do that. I was just chasing it all over the place. And I think it's just because I had so many little like moving parts. So I did trim down my my little starburst cover plate, which again is also adding interest without taking away from our focal point because it is a neutral. It's that white. So that's helping our colors to also pop forward. And then for the sentiment, I'm just gluing that white onto that blue, just like we have the white heat embossing onto that kind of bluish teal color. And then I did the leaves, I glued the leaves down first, and then I just laid the sentiment there so that I could kind of tuck everything else behind. I'm going to do the drinks, and then I'm going to do all of my little leaves. My little leaves is really, I'm going to help my balance and also help me to fill in any of the blank spots, like that the palms are not filling in. And so that really worked best for me. So then now I have it all together. The summer isn't attached yet, but the banner folds up on the edges so that it's popped up in the middle. So I put a little bit of foam tape there, and then I put glue on the tails so that it will be a little bit raised up and everything will be flush. And then I'm going to take that summer and I'm going to adhere it kind of right behind my little banner. So it'll say summer, kick back and relax, which obviously we have our fun little beverages, mocktails if you're like me, cocktails if you are enjoying your own happy hour. And then I did go in and do just a little bit of detail work. So some white highlights with my gel pen on the umbrella, on my little garnishes, on my actual cups. You can put that on the Yupo paper and it will dry. Here's where I'm going to bring in that little bit of more glitter. This is Stardust Stickles. Stardust Stickles take on the color of whatever you put it on top of. So I did some dots onto my rims there, and I also added some to my fruit. And then I did some more subtle shimmer onto like my umbrellas and stuff. For my accenting and just kind of filling in those areas and creating that balance, I am using sea glass rhinestones from Pretty Pink Posh. These are pretty much a like nailed it kind of dead on color match for our cardstock, and I love them. And then that's it. I did tuck in an extra leaf there that wasn't there before, in case you're wondering. But then that's it. That's the whole card. So I hope that you are inspired to kind of dress up your cocktails with some alcohol inks, with some glitters to make them more fun and festive. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Don't forget to hop along and leave comments as you go. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye.